I really wish I'd gone live as you just said that, with no context for the dear viewer. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. If I've been 5 seconds earlier, we'd have had something interesting from Bruce, and I think I've just started late anyway because it's just gone live after I thought we'd gone live. Josh is currently working on igloos along the border. Oh, there we are then. Good on you, Josh. I sent you a link.
Everyone's got to have a hobby. Yep.
Is it Canadian border?
Yeah, it's probably the southern border. I think it's quite icy with the southern border at the minute, isn't it? So it probably is for the Gulf of. Don't get me started on that. We're. Oh no, he's joining us. Is he joining from an igloo? That'd be cool if he is. You in an igloo there, Josh? Winning since. Well, where have you been? 1812.
Looking for Delta Airlines planes, are you?
Oh, that was so what happened was, all right, let's just go off topic right from the beginning. Why not? Make no difference at all. So was that wind shear? Was that a heavy landing? The undercarriage definitely let go on the right hand side. What was it, sports fans?
I've not watched the video actually of this.
Have you not?
No,
it's very
like
kind
the
of
wings
wheels were
folded,
totally wrapped
flipped
up in
over.
snow.
Yeah.
So
we don't know what it was, really, do we? I think it was probably a military helicopter was involved.
No, hang on. It's in Canada. Canada, yeah. Mounted police. Yes, mounted police. must be. No, it's how anybody got away from that. I don't know. It's quite extraordinary. Right, let's whiz through some news for us. We've got Richard here, so that must mean there's some legal stuff, and Josh is here, and he's always good in those contexts. But let's just have a look at. Let's leave that one there. Let's go. Oh, so slick, so slick.
Polished.
This
you wouldn't believe that he rehearses this beforehand.
If you believe that, you believe anything. I thought that was quite interesting. $3 million contract for tethered UAS. I mean, it is what it is.
Balloons.
Well, absolutely, but it's a story. Now, this is one perhaps as you know, I am not a grown up. What is $20 million worth of debt financing? What on earth does that mean? Is that putting money into clear borrowing money? You
got to pay it back.
Yeah,
hopefully on future sales.
So I thought that was quite spectacular. But of course, Red Cat have the marvelous ability of having the president in their pocket now. Yeah. So,
but I think
you know what? This is a topic that a lot of people don't explore in the drone industry, where I think people think of like consumer debt and it's a bad thing. But if I can use debt to buy inventory and I'm paying, 6 to 12%, that's a lot cheaper than giving away 20% equity. So like, if you're using this debt just to build, it's a great strategy from like a shareholder perspective. Early stages, it's very rare to get debt because you're just kind of building the tech. But if your tech's built and you just got to deliver, like debt should be widely used. Now, I think Europe has a different perspective on debt than us in North America. But yeah, debt is an instrument that should be used if you're just buying stuff to build when there's not a lot of risk on and it's just execution.
The question for me is on this: are they actually getting $20 million? Because
I would assume if
financing comes at cost, right?
So usually it's like 20 million
business.
Yeah, that's fair. Are they paying? Is it 20 million plus the interest, or is the interest baked in? And like, you're probably seeing 6 to 15%, I would assume, on this debt.
What's it saying here?
Convertible
15 share price, initial tranche 15. I don't understand any of this. That must say.
It's a convertible. So that means you can go into equity. Yeah, so that means like there's bank debt, like you get your house, you pay an interest, at the end of it, you walk away, you're good. This type of debt, it either goes into repayment, or they can have the option to convert. So if they have a strike price of 16.15. So if Red Cat, I think they're around 8 to 12 or something. If they get up to $20 a share, these guys may say, you know what, I don't want my debt back. I'm going to convert to share that value, and then I'll make an extra X amount of dollars based on share price.
But there's a dilution of equity as well.
If it converts, yes. Yeah, 100%. And that's where you'll see the stock. Like it's interesting in the private market, any sort of capital raise is celebrated. You see all the shares and likes and all that. But in the public market, when you see the equity raises, I think the investors go, well, that's just dilution. They don't look at it necessarily as like the financing the growth side of things.
Well, I don't understand it. It's not big boy money stuff.
It's like Monopoly, Gary.
Is it?
Yeah,
fair enough.
Monopoly.
Fair
Now
enough.
you understand.
I have, and my children beat me at Monopoly now. All my children beat me at Monopoly. Now, this is one for Bruce. I'm rushing through these. Somebody today told me that these things, the reason they're like this, because I can't fathom these things really, but the reason they're like this is because when they're approaching the target, they can yaw at the target very accurately and lose no lift as they yaw round because it's generating lift from all around. But I said, which was probably wrong, but surely unless you've created an aerofoil that's vertical on those ones, which they haven't, they're canted, the lift's actually, it's all going in different directions, isn't it? Well, not different directions, but at 90 degrees to the wing shapes there. So do you think it's going to go around the corner better?
There's probably some validity in that, because if you look at an aircraft flying straight and level, if you want to turn left or right, what do? Well, you bank so that you've got the wing, lift of the wing providing the force to exchange the vector. If you try and yaw it, it'll side slip because the actual forces involved in changing your vector are much lower. So there's probably a degree of truth in that, where you want to have full 360-degree ability to change your vector. That would probably be a much easier way to do it.
Okay, all right. Maybe I have to build one and see.
Wing. That would work as well.
Yeah. I think it's.
So what do you think is actually moving on this to make it yaw in that way?
It's got control surfaces on that quad at the back, but also the quad, I can imagine. But there are conventional surfaces back there, and I don't really know why you wouldn't have a great big single propeller on the front or the back pushing it rather than
it'd get broken when you hit the target.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'll be it. That'll be it. Yeah, I'm not sure the advantage of that quad. It's got quite a range. They're sending 6,000 of them to Ukraine.
Maybe it's vertical takeoff and it gives better maneuverability.
No, it's on a sled. It's on a sled.
So question:
Who builds these?
The German Hells Angels, Helsing. That's it. Helsing.
I want you to have a fixed wing, and if you want to kick the yaw around, you do aileron and rudder, because you can do that.
But that requires that you roll before you can change the vector. This will provide an immediate vector change, immediate heading change. So that's just that. And when you're approaching something really fast, the latency and actually changing your course can make the difference between hitting and missing.
See, I knew you'd be the right person to ask. Well, you just put a bigger hitting thing on the front, don't you? If you want a bigger bang component. Yeah. So listen, maybe I've got to build one to see what happens.
It has built-in crosshairs.
Exactly. Yes. Precisely. Actually, I'm not looking at 4 motors for manoeuvring because VTOL. No, I don't think it's VTOL down. I don't think it is. But I stand to be corrected. Sometimes I'm wrong. Obviously, not very often. But all the time. Yeah. Exactly.
It's just
no. It launches off a rail. No.
Oh, okay.
Launches off a rail. Yeah.
So that's why it's got 4 motors behaving at the back. Move left and right, power.
Well, it will have a way more yaw authority with those back there.
Really, if it's symmetrical like this, there really isn't a yaw. It depends which way it's flying, doesn't it?
True,
become identical.
Yeah. Right, let's start getting towards some of the main meat of this one, which in some ways, actually, shall we start on this one? Shall we start on this one, Liam? Yeah.
Looks like a drone to me. Was it Gatwick?
So, the Gatwick lights, not the Gatwick lights, the Lakenheath lights. Well, it's your story, and you take over. You're the main man.
Well, we have discussed bits of this on the show before, where we were puzzled because we knew that we thought an air prox had been logged, but the CAA weren't being very transparent about it, and it was all a bit contradictory and confusing. But we did look at the flight path and did wonder, because for starters, it was the picture that was being painted out there was that there was a drone over the airbase and a bit of a chase with the MPAS, and we actually saw on here, it looked actually like it was like you say about 10 miles away down in Newmarket. So I have queried if that was the case, but certainly from the flight path looked at that was the case. But what we didn't know,
it took so long to come into shot here. Hang on, let me zoom this forward a bit. Keep going.
It's quite a while, and then I think that with this extract that's been done here, it's been like it was. I think this is like the entire day up until when it happened. So what we were wondering was, was this valid? Was it or was it a mistake again? Because you can see all this air traffic at the moment that's flying over Newmarket. So you've got the United States Air Force Base north of this, saying there's a drone to the south, and obviously on this particular night. There were no cloud out there, full visibility. These would have,
it comes.
The lights could have been mistaken for drones. But what has come out?
I know that's the other one.
Is that the National Police Air Service helicopter did in fact log an air prox via mandatory occurrence reporting, and they say they have video of whatever it was they'd seen. So I know already the media have got a request in for that to be provided. I've also put the request in as well. I've also posed a number of questions. If there's a bit of a fight to release the video, I thought, well, at least ask if they could tell us a bit about it. Could they tell it was actually a drone? If so, was it a multi-rotor? Was it fixed wing? That kind of thing. If you're saying it's in a drone, you should be able to say, is it this? Is it or is it that? So there's questions here about why did the CAA and MAA, the Air Prox board, say there wasn't something logged when there clearly was? Because the National Police Air Service themselves, it's there in black and white, have said we reported a Air Prox via mandatory occurrence reported, and it said reported indicated the belief that the other platform was a drone. So why? I'm even puzzled why this has been for. I mean, say for example, I use the word air prox, and they're trying to pick being pedantic, thinking, oh well, you should have said mandatory occurrence reported. That's not in the spirit of the Freedom of Information Act anyway. You should be trying to be a bit helpful, so you could say, well, really, we say we've got a mandatory occurrence report and we don't want to talk about it. If you say that, that's fair enough. But to say, well, there wasn't one, and then for me to find there was, that doesn't look good. It doesn't look good in the context of other stuff that's going on with the CAA when they're looking very evasive. So I wasn't particularly pleased with that. Stuff like this, there shouldn't even be all this nonsense of let's try and dodge questions, let's throw up barriers, let's not be transparent. At the end of the day, this is an airspace incident. There is a genuine public interest. If you've got what is being claimed to be some sort of chase between a helicopter and a drone at several thousand feet above residential houses, and if you're saying, well, potentially there could be a collision or anything, that is in the public interest all day long. That is in the public interest. And so it's really frustrating that.
I'm not sure about the public interest thing. Maybe Richie can help us with that, because I'm sure people can say, oh no, the public should have no interest in that at all. I could see that happening straight away. But the fact is, the chase was like 10 miles away from Mildenhall and Lakenheath. It was nowhere near those air bases, and yet it's caused loads of airspace restrictions in the UK. Loads and loads, and there wasn't 20 of them or something, I think. Lots of airspace restrictions in the UK. They've not been rescinded. We know now that the incident was miles away. The NPAS have got video of whatever it is. Love to see that. Perhaps we will one day. And the CAA are just claiming ignorance. Now, the MOR, the mandatory occurrence report, I don't quite know the chain for that. I think the MOR would be straight to the CAA, whereas an AirProx would be straight to the AirProx board, I think.
I've looked at the process on the AirProx board's own PDF they produce, and it says you can do a mandatory occurrence report to report an AirProx. So you can either fill in a form on the website or that, or you can do it via a mandatory occurrence report. So that seems to be the perfectly valid way of doing it. As I say, go on, Richard, you jump in.
And I think the terms are interchangeable the way that they describe it and use it, don't they? With an MOR and an AirProx.
I wasn't sure that they were. I thought an AirProx was only like an MOR could be my wheel fell off or the lights weren't working at the airport, whereas an AirProx is no, we had a close to coming together. That was my understanding of the situation.
Yeah. I'm talking about when I think for filing purposes, an MOR and an AirProx is supposed to have the same outcome. It's a report of something that's happened, right? And that's why I think on the research that Ian's done, he came across this PDF where it appeared to me to be interchangeable in the way that they were using it from purely a reporting perspective. But the outcome's got to be the same, right? It's going to go to some regulator somewhere who's got to do something about it.
So the suggestion was this was actually discussed by the AirProx board, and even the CAA was saying, well, it's coming out via AirProx board, you just have to wait for it to be published. So it is all a bit contradictory and muddled, and it's like, why can't you just say da 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 da, and just, but rather than just trying to play a bit of a game with it.
Now, I meant to sort of Google this, but I didn't know how to do it. If I'm a big corporate company, so let's say the CA is a corporate company, or we're Shell or BP or whatever, and we half know we're misleading people, or let's say our procedures are shabby, so we didn't mean to mislead people, but because of our internal systems and procedures, we have ended up misleading people. Is that something that the law can deal with, or does the law just say, oh, well, never mind, just tidy up your paperwork? Can the CAA be got to for what to a bystander looks like some pretty shabby procedures?
Yeah, I think so, Gary, in short, because as a regulator is supposed to have the trust of the public, right? We're supposed to believe that our regulator is competent. They're doing what they should be doing to keep the airways safe. And we're supposed to have confidence in that. Now, the moment that we start seeing the regulator waver on basic stuff, like an accounts report that's laid before Parliament, on the basis of using that information to increase fees in the scheme of charges, then what we've got is a position whereby we're asking questions: can we actually trust the regulator here? And that's fundamentally it, because it's about public trust. And so what we want to discover is whether or not what the CA are doing is robust, but also, more importantly, to your point, is making sure they're accountable for their actions. Now, any regulator or government department can be challenged on the basis of what they've done or what they've admitted to do that they should have done. And so what you've got before you now is my letter to my MP, which is Pete Wishart, up here in Muck, Scotland, who forwarded my letter of complaint about the accounts to Mike Kane MP, who's the Minister for Transport. And this is his response. And the correction slip is something that they annotate As if, it's like putting Tipex over a report is what a correction slip is, and then writing on the Tipex if you're old enough to remember what that actually is, or
Yes.
take a separate piece of paper and sellotaping it over the area of the report that was incorrect. And so what they're saying here is, well, we've issued a correction slip, that should be fine, but actually it isn't, because what they haven't done is dug into the robust systems in place that should ensure that the CAA are conducting themselves in a manner which inspires and promotes confidence in the ability of a regulator. And that's not what we're seeing. A correction slip is avoiding all of that stuff and just saying, well, yeah, we've made a mistake, we've corrected it, and that's the end of the matter, but it actually isn't. And the point you've just highlighted there is we have ensured that the CAA has a robust set of internal and external remedies for those who are dissatisfied. So in my letter today, I've asked him, well, what remedies are you talking about? How have you assessed that those remedies are robust to ensure that issues like this don't happen again? And what we're seeing here is a position by the CAA whereby those figures that they misquoted in their annual accounts, which were set before Parliament, delivered in Parliament, and endorsed by the DFT and the Minister for Transportation, is correct. It wasn't the case, and it was based upon the scheme of charges which are due to come out soon, and they denied that. It wasn't. It was just a genuine mistake based upon a PwC report that was in 2018 that had caveats within it to say, don't rely on what we've written in this report, right? So we've now got the Minister of Transportation saying there are robust procedures in place now, but are there actually? Because in that short letter, it seems to me that you're playing the party line, because credit to Sean from Geeks Varna, he's arranged for many people to write letters, and we haven't got concrete numbers just yet, but I'm sure that if a number of letters are being written, then that's going to cause some issues, A, for the CAA, but also the DFT and the Minister for Transportation, because now they're being scrutinised for what they should be doing in their day job. That's what we're fundamentally talking about. If you can't get your annual accounts right, what else are you getting wrong?
I mean, it's the whole backdrop of it at the minute as well, because we've got the accounts wrong. We've then got they don't know what air proxies are getting logged with them. I don't know what they are. Well, that's what they would tell us. And then we've got the situation with my freedom of information that really concerns me is where we've got denials of the CAA holding data, which was the FRZ incursions, which they waited until the ICO's investigating, and suddenly they've done a 180 and said, yes, we do have this data. And again, they're saying mistakes. Well, they're just changing the outcome, but they're not even saying, oh, we've made this mistake. We've got this broken process, and this is what we're fixing. It's just we're just changing our story, and you've just got to suck it up, and it's not very good.
They're not used to having.
Sorry, Gary. I think it was Tony Blair when he was in government that brought in the Freedom of Information Act, and when he realised how onerous it would be on government, he regretted that decision ever since. Now I believe that the CAA regret having this put in place, for all of these years, because it's fundamentally it's a lot of work for somebody to go trawling emails and checking through every one to make sure they're complying with the law.
I think it's a matter of a little search in.
It's having the right tools, and I think government does have the right tools for this. I think with the Microsoft products, I think there's even stuff you could download specifically that could search across your entire organization. So I don't think it's as difficult as we think it is.
So I've got a guy that works for me that helped build software for the government to do the ATIP, and I don't think it's that intense. I think he had some mid-20-year-olds building software to do searches. And it's probably a task for AI, right? The problem is all the all the games that people play. The government people that are senior know how to. I'm sure Ian can attest to some of the bullshit that he has to overcome, and just simple things like I know I've done ATIPs where.
But you need somebody to be able. You need somebody, Josh, to be able to determine personal identifiable information and make those appropriate redactions. Now, I don't know if software can actually do that, or it does require a human in the loop to make sure that happens.
I know for us, it's more about like commercial confidence. That's the more proprietary. I don't know if we have the same concerns.
Yeah, they do have that.
The CAA started using that term and hiding, and NATS as well. Yeah. Oh no, it's trials. It's sensitive commercial information. And it's like rubbish. If the people are paying for these services, then they've paid for these tests and whatever. They should know the bloody results of them. That's getting on my high horse.
That's another interesting one. So NATS and Angus Council, they've awarded a contract to NATS, haven't they? Angus Council for drones, and I'm aware of that. So I wrote to Angus Council Procurement Department a number of questions which they still haven't answered despite being chased up. And I wrote I did an Ian special here. I wrote an FOI to Angus Council. And 2 weeks later, they wrote me another one acknowledging my FOI, but giving me a different FOI number. So I've got 2 FOI reference numbers for the one FOI that I've done and still no answers yet. So that's going to be another interesting one, because to your point, Gary, we know that NATS operate in 2 different spheres, private and public. And in law, we used to call it Chinese walls. We're not allowed to call it that. It's now called information barriers. I do remember once being told off in chambers for using Chinese walls. And there we go. But anyway, what we need to understand is really what's happening here between that private piece and the public piece. And so instead of going to NATS directly, I've gone to Angus Council because they're obliged under the law to answer my questions.
I was going to say the Chinese ball story was interesting because all my freedom of information I refer to as donkey balls, because that's what most of the replies are like.
But the CAA certainly, and look, it's isn't it 300,000 odd people that have taken their tests in England? They're very odd. They fly drones. They fly drones. Okay. It makes them odd. It's quite simple. But yeah, it's still like 300,000 people. They've got 368,000 of which several are commercial. There's never been as large a group in aviation. There's a single group of operators. There's never been 360,000 airline pilots, 360,000 balloon drivers, PPLs, or something like that. So for the first time in the CAA's history, they've always been working on a group of about 10,000 people. You can keep them oppressed quite easily. It's going to be a struggle because 10,000 is hardly any of 368,000. So for the first time,
I think also, Gary, that they're used to dealing with major customers where there's a single point of contact. There is a single, BA or EasyJet or whatever it is will have a single point of contact to deal with the regulator. Here, you've got drone pilots of all persuasions writing into the CAA as individuals. That has to be taken account of, ultimately.
Well, they're all going to have to be. Well, let's say 50 people. I'm sure more than 50 people will sign up to Geeks' thing and write to their MP. But let's say it's 50, and if they're going to write back to 50 people, that's a bit of time and effort and energy, isn't it? And then those people will want follow-up stuff and things like that. I'm sure it'll be a lot more than 50. And if you haven't done it, if you're in the UK, you should go to Sean. I guess there's no time scale on that, so go to Sean's channel and get writing. But it's going to cost them time. Now, will they be?
They've got firewalls, Gary. They've got firewalls. They're called secretaries who handle it all, signed on behalf.
Signed on behalf. But there'll still be their time. But I think that one of the major snags is if you're an operator, and this applies anywhere in the world. This seems particularly England-centric at the moment, or UK-centric. Your regulator might then get vindictive, and that could be a problem. So you don't really want to, and they shouldn't get vindictive because we're supposed to have a just. I've forgotten. Just culture, isn't it?
You're not saying they'll make an example of someone.
Or they would, or maybe give somebody an audit or something like that, or just pick them up and give them a hassle. So people that are in the game are in trouble because they can't really complain. Didn't put that very well. You know what I mean?
But I mean, this. I'll just jump in a second, Mark, and I'll let you jump in. The part of this problem they brought themselves because the ICO tries to get this into the authorities' heads over and over again, is if you're transparent at the outset, you don't have any of this trouble. You know, if you have your website, you publish stuff, you keep people in the picture, you don't have this problem. And the trouble with the CAA, it's been completely London-centric. It's just prioritising a small group of people that it ever speaks to, shares information with. And then it has nothing to do with the rest of the drone community. And it isn't transparent. It puts out contradictory information. Even if you ask for them just to define the stuff they put out, you know, when we've talked about in the past was an emergency response. And that's being misused as an emergency services response, different things. And that has a thing of the word close to, and you say, define it. They won't. What is the point of a regulator that puts in regulations that they won't clarify themselves and put into meaningful things that you can act on? Because if you won't describe things, people can't act in the correct manner to never know if they're on the right side or the wrong side. And so it just makes my mind boggle because I'm like, you could have just stopped all this. You know, the stuff where I'm having issue with them, it's being created by them, you know, messing me around, pointing me in one direction to go into another, or to just be told complete nonsense, to be denied stuff exists that I know exists. And it's, you know, that causes the problem. So
can I just butt in? No, can I just butt in because Josh says it's got to go. So, Josh, any world of parachute words before you go?
No. You know what? I've been getting annoyed and pissed off on the discussion of maximum takeoff weight, and I think we need to have I'm going to write an article. It's a topic in which I feel bad for drone pilots because they buy a bunch of products and they don't know not to go above the maximum takeoff weight because there's companies out there that are selling products that exceed the maximum takeoff weight, and it drives me bonkers because as a director of a corporation, I feel like it's an unnecessary risk to sell a product that makes your client breach the declaration that the manufacturer has said. And so I will say on a final note, the drone industry has a lot of problems. Some of it, not some, I bet you a bulk of those problems come from the manufacturers and end users not being aware. But I don't think end users intentionally are not aware. I think they've been misguided. So to that point, I'm going to go see a customer, but thanks for having me, and I will elaborate more on a future date.
Please send an article or talk to us later about it. Look after yourselves. Good luck in Canada. You need it.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be in America on Thursday in hockey, so make sure you watch.
Well, we already know what you'll be doing.
Well, final. Does anyone understand this hat? This is more British than anything.
1812. There's an overture then.
The War of 1812.
Is this hockey then or something then?
No, doesn't that mean the hockey starts at 12 minutes past 6? I think that's what it means.
No, it's when invaded and the Brits and the Canadians were able to hold
War of Independence, was it?
Something like that. War of 1812 that happened multiple years, but yeah, go Canada, go. Have a good day, guys.
All right, mate. Got yourself. Thanks, Josh.
Hockey. That's running
thank
golf.
Goodness he's gone. We can't have two. We've got Canadians in the chat as well. Oh, dear me. Anywho, yes. So sorry, guys. But I'll tell you what. For Dan, who's in the chat, you must look at Dan's A to Z of drone stuff. It's very good. That's on LinkedIn. there's a similar as Canada's not buying products. We're starting not to buy products here as well. It won't make as much of a difference from South Africa, but South Africa is also not buying American stuff and not selling our materials to America. We've decided to do that as well, so it really has backfired. Anyway, let's go. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? And I haven't been drinking. No, you told me you were. you told me all that stuff. That's right. It puts me very, very much all of this. Back to the letter writing campaign. It puts me exactly. This twice in a couple of weeks. I mentioned this back in 2009. 2009, ladies and gentlemen. The police took a German drone, an early German drone, and took pictures over a British National Party protest. They weren't taking pictures of the BNP people. They were taking pictures of the people protesting against the BNP being there. And what those people did was they all put in a subject access request under the Data Protection Act. You've got to remember this 2009. They said, we need to know if you can identify any of the people in the crowd. And they had to send, Derbyshire Police had to send printed photos to all these people, and it was thousands of photos, and it cost the police an absolute fortune. And that's what this puts me in mind of it. The whole thing that the CIA is going to get a whole hoon of letters, and it's going to cost them a fortune to deal with it. And it would be much quicker to be, as Ian's alluded to, just to be open, transparent, and honest. If you make it, and they're allowed to make mistakes. Everyone's allowed to make mistakes, even Bruce. And then just say, look, we made a mistake, and crack on. And without that,
Gary, would you mind just putting that picture back up, please?
Sure. Yeah, I would mind. Hang on. That one. There we are.
It's a great article, but what I'm really interested in is this thing on the right called Drone Pilot's Legal Handbook.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Aren't you lucky that one happens to be? Hang on, let's refresh it. Let's see if I can get rid of it. If I refresh this enough, I can get rid of it.
And just for your viewers, that's actually going through an update at the moment. So I'm updating that legal handbook, and it should hopefully be out in the next couple of weeks.
When you give it free to all auditors.
When it's ready, let us know, and I'll get it into the commercial groups and everything.
Oh, brilliant! Thanks, Mark. That's great.
Right after that word from our sponsor. Anyway,
it was a bit like that, wasn't it?
Yeah. But wait, there's more.
What is in that handbook? Is it like a bullet points kind of thing?
There is a bit of that. There's obviously quite a bit of it's focused legally on somebody going into the drone business, setting up their drone business, what to look out for, what to do, look at intellectual property, how are you going to create IP, how to protect it, how to fly responsibly, what laws you should be aware of. Then we've got the whole police thing around confiscation of your drone equipment and that kind of thing. And there'll be some FAQs. So what it's trying to do is enable somebody who's in the drone business or coming into the drone business to give them a steer basically on what they should be looking out for.
So in a few weeks' time, when it comes out, are you going to come and read us a paragraph from it then?
Bedtime story.
I can do that. If Gary puts his back an hour, makes it 10 o'clock, then we'll all be getting ready for bed. Bring your hot chocolate.
Yeah, absolutely. Those long winter nights.
With the way things are going at the moment, you build an entire section in there on information rights as well. And
absolutely. Yeah, DPA. I mean, I've got some stuff on doing data privacy impact assessments in there as well. For the reasons you were just talking about in that article, actually. If somebody's doing a roof survey of Blenheim Palace and it's during the day and there are people walking around, you want to make sure you've done a DPIA for obvious reasons. So stuff like that. And when also, these guys that were filming the horse racing.
Oh yeah, God, didn't that seem like a long time ago?
Well,
they're still legitimate stuff.
They still They still do that near me. So Market Raisin, which is a horse racing place. I was there Boxing Day this year. No, Boxing Day last year, sorry. But, just Christmas. And I saw a multi-rotor go up, and it was watching the races. And I thought, that's a naughty drone. It wasn't a legal drone. It wasn't on site. You could tell it was well back from the course. Looked like an Inspire, actually, because the legs went up.
They'll have zoom cameras on them. So that's why they can sit far back from a race course.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
which is, Gary, to the point you made at the beginning, when you showed up that Alistair 3 million funding on a tether, that's going to work, I think, great for drones that have got zoom cameras on, right? You can get 2 mile range on really good cameras.
Yeah, I mean, they do drop. So they do drop restricted airspace on some races now, don't they? On some race courses, they do. When it's race day, they do drop. Zones, don't they?
That's not been my experience, Mark. I did have one pilot who came to me and said, I want to fly at a race course, quite a famous race course. And what they did was they put in their own airspace, essentially, and protected it because they registered it with CAA, essentially protected zone. And what they did was they extended the radius beyond the race course by a couple of nautical miles. So, it was disproportionate to what they needed because they needed helicopters to fly in from a certain vector. And that's all they were doing, in and out on one vector. But why have a complete circumference that is disproportionate in space, right? And so I challenged this. And do you know what? They would not hear any of it. Their airspace manager at the racecourse would not have any of it at all, and so it was a problem because if you've got a small window whereby you're blocking somebody from actually doing legit, could have been roof surveys within that two nautical miles, could have been anything, right? You're now blocking somebody legitimately from doing business. Who do you approach? Because the window for when one's notified on a NOTAM to the actual event is only a couple of days.
Yeah.
So you try and get hold of somebody in the CAA or that manager or anybody else in that short time window to make necessary allowances or discretions. It's, the system doesn't work in a way that it should do to facilitate drone pilots in the industry in the UK with respect to airspace changes and things like that. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, I was going to say for the thing is with the horse racing stuff as well. The Mavics now, their zoom is so good that 2.5 nautical miles you could sit outside it and it would make no difference. You could work out the horses and everything. It's nuts. It really is. It's just bonkers. They can change the regulations, do this and the other, but the drones, the technology just gets better and better.
Yeah, but isn't the whole point of this? That you shouldn't need to have the drone sitting off doing that because it shouldn't be slightly time delayed and to adjust for gambling and all that. Surely that's the real con, isn't it? It's not the drones. It's the worrying about the slight time. There's enough time there that they can make the bets.
And that's scary. Surely live is meant to be live, but actually, at the end of the day, it's about just a second or two behind, and you would think the transmission from the drone down to the handset, down to the video, to a website, and all that would be slower than it would be with a TV camera to a big van pumping it out. Would be faster, but it's not.
I know on tennis, it's a big problem. They have people live feeding from the tennis courts from their phones to people, and there's enough time. There's enough latency in tennis for a point. For people to get a bet in.
I mean, football's about 2 minutes behind often. It's definitely.
I thought it was about 100 years behind, but anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's not talk about age because Bruce gets sensitive.
Oh, I was going to say with that time, though. I was going to say that time's the TV transmission, not the actual to the gambling. The gambling's, it will be probably in milliseconds.
Yeah,
but it's not. It's not. That's the amazing thing. So yeah, it's like
I
we're
mean,
chasing
yeah,
the wrong crime.
it's a very slim time, but yeah. If you're there, it's possible.
It's enough time for it to take the video, to go to the drone, to go down the downlink, to be seen, to be then pumped to the internet. Right? There's that much of a delay between the live is slower. It's quite scary.
I suspect with that actually it isn't over the internet and that, because when they've done these guys, there's cash actually there in the van. So I think these are these professional gamblers. So I think they're at the van watching the feed.
Oh wow!
And that's why they're getting the speed benefit.
Oh,
that's how it works. I think it's like here's your cash, boom, in hand.
Wow,
that's just mad.
Is it like someone's going to come from the rear of the field in 300 milliseconds and take the lead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it must be something like that, and it all puts me in mind all this sporting gambling dodginess of this. I don't know if it made as big a news in the UK as it did here, because people really love their cricket here, but they faked an entire series. They had stadiums, they had fans, they had people dressed up. They faked an entire cricket series and then sent it off to Russia, and people plainly lost money. So
it'd be easier now with AI.
I suppose it would, but gambling in sports. I don't
mind if Russians lose money to gambling. I don't have a problem.
No.
For some reason, it doesn't bother me.
That's That's the thing. No, cool. Have we gone off topic in any way? I wonder.
We might have just strayed a little bit.
Just slightly.
It'll happen one day.
Just slightly. One day it will happen. One day, yes, because we keep bang on the scripts, bang on it. This is the one. Yeah, the one. Well, we should prepare one, and then we can say we've got one. Doesn't mean we have to be on it, and we can use the same one every week. In fact, we almost could, couldn't we? It's a little bit of a pity that. Well, why I must say so to be a pity. It's a pity that Ian's hard work is, unfortunately for him, uncovering yet more and more, not just Gatwick, more and more dodginess. That's the thing. This all started with Gatwick, which got Ian his new hobby of foyering. And his new hobby has dragged Richard in, but more and more and more is being exposed, and it's wrong. We forget the grassroots here. Richard got there because the police knocked on his door for Gatwick. Ian got there because we all of us thought at the time this is nonsense. It can't be true, but it's revealing so much more. And I really worry that we're not getting enough big picture data. We're not joining all the dots from all over the place. There must be some police software or something for investigating crimes. Or I shouldn't have said it's a crime, should I? For investigating incidents, and for just looking at little bits of detail here and there and everywhere. So I'm sure we're missing stuff. There's so much going on now. There really is. There's so much going on.
The thing is, there wouldn't be anything to delve into if people be transparent, because what we just have is
yeah.
The worst thing is it's mainly around drones. It's because so many people have had this. I don't know, but under the bonnet about having, especially within like the CIA and the DFT, about always having to present drones negatively, and it's like, why? And I just thought I'd put this in as well, actually, because this is a new freedom of information as well. And credit to MPCC, they're generally pretty straight and. Detailed with the freedom of information. So this was just found about Lake and Heath, so that the dates are actually in here when they were deployed. So because we were of the thought that this can't be tracking on, like a lot of the UAP guys at the time were saying, oh, there's aliens flying above and whatever else, or Russians, and we were like, there's no way this is going on with the RAF there, because the kit would capture it. Now the NPCC have confirmed that they left by the first week of December. So the MOD aren't as transparent, so whether we'll find out when they left or not. I guess you can in the air, but it'll be a bit of a fight. But I would imagine the RAF have probably gone around the same time as the NPCC, as I imagine they were probably I think when there's been deployments with the RAF, there's often they've both been at the same events. Whilst the capabilities are different, if there's something going on with the drone, normally that team there would be interested as well. So that kind of suggests to me that it was all over in that first week of December, like we thought it was, which kind of suggests that once all the kit's been sent there, it's like we can't wait. It's like, there's not really going on. Let's just move on and enjoy it rest of Christmas.
Oh, here comes, look out, here comes America. Good afternoon, America.
Good afternoon, everyone.
How are you doing? How's the world treating you over there, Carl?
Splendidly, to be honest. I've been here since just before the inauguration. I was in DC for about a week after that, and I've just been moving around. So spent some time up at Air Force Base Charleston. That was good, meeting a lot of guys from the Air Force and the Marines, looking at their drone program, and just generally circulating. So now back in Texas, been here for about a week, and just meeting a lot of people out here who are aligned with the same vision as we've got at Artemis. So it's been very, very interesting. I'll move on to a few more points.
I see you on the side, so I thought you probably would want to come in. Hello to Philip, who's in Exponential in Dusseldorf, which I can't help thinking is suffering a little bit because a lot of people are at IMEX in Saudi or wherever that is. I think a lot of people are at the other exhibition. So interesting timing, I thought, for maybe VSI to clash with another big event. But we'll see how that pans out. No doubt it'll get bigger in the future.
IDEX is one of those exhibitions where it's a spectacle. Long before I came into autonomy, I was in telecommunications, and they used to run most of the events in that neck of the woods, and you just get lost in them. They're just, it's more of a being there for being their's sake as opposed to being able to generate business, because most of the contracts that are signed at these events were signed months before they're just announced at that given point. I've seen a lot of guys who've gone over there, but my experience is, in the past, I think I spent about maybe just shy of $250,000 on shows out there, and just to realize I wasn't getting anything back from them. So no difference there. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes of that, if there are any announcements. But what you've got to look at is, most of the Indian companies, the Chinese companies, they tend to dominate those shows. They throw a tremendous amount of budget at it, and those guys know what they're doing. So again, a lot of the British companies that have gone out there, good luck to them. That's all I'll say.
It's the first time I've ever seen such a two big shows on. They've never clashed like this before. That you're seeing two different lots of social media posts from two. So it's very interesting. Well, it's not very interesting. It's quite dull, I suppose. But it's just wonder why that's happening.
It still amazes me what the focus is, Gary, because obviously you've got three different elements of the drone business. You've got obviously the entertainment business, Mark's part of that. You've got obviously the surveillance, police, civil side of that, and then you've got the military side of things. And the one thing that I've certainly found out, being over here for the past 6 months on and off, pretty much non-stop, with the exception of going home for Christmas, is that the US drone fraternity, in comparison to what we've got in the UK and Europe, is tiny. And
say that again.
Tiny.
The US.
Yeah, honestly, I mean the fraternity of companies, the ones that are pontificating that they're making big impacts, they're not at all. I'm speaking to people at 3-star general level who are involved in drone programs, and the impact is just not there. None of them can scale. The big ones just it's big. There's big problems here, and it's quite funny. If I go back a couple of years and we look at what was achieved just with a small team at Plymouth Rock before obviously the team then became Artemis. I mean, we were doing things back in the day with the likes of, Ben Pickard and others that just dance all over what's going on here today. It astounds me just how flaky it is out here. So that's about it. Obviously Skydio, they're putting a lot of press releases out at the moment, but what they're actually doing in practice is, in my opinion, it's yesteryear, and I'm seeing it firsthand. I got back from New Orleans, and obviously there was, a big hoo-ha. There was about, the drones that were overhead doing surveillance. I counted 4, and that was it. And they were just X10s. So yeah, it's good to see firsthand what people are doing here. But again, I think there's going to be a big come to Jesus over here with some of the big companies. I think some of the smaller companies, if they are following what it is that I'm trying to do at this moment in time with the army and the new administration, I think they should have some good success. But again, there's a very no BS side to this business over here now with the military, and they're done with all the people that, who claim to be big drone companies when in fact they just had a lot of money thrown at them from VCs. They want people who can start talking about production, doing things at scale and modularity, and that's what they're all into at the moment, and that's the big hit point. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing here, and to be honest, this didn't surprise me.
Well, look, Ukraine, it just has to shock anybody. The numbers of drones being produced every day there and for there every day is quite astounding. And then being shot, if you will, fired off, and that's it, they're gone. Then you need to have a new one tomorrow. The numbers are huge. Well, and if I say 10,000 a day, that's rubbish. That's a low number. So that's a low number.
You think the Ukrainians, by doing that, have managed to also develop technology around 3D printing to just to make it happen so much more efficiently and expediently?
Well, here's the thing, right? Take this little fella here, right?
Oh, well done. Richard got a product, and now you've got a product placement in. Very good.
I learned from Richard.
But
take this fella here, right? So we make these en masse. So 1,100 of these are being made in America right now. It actually takes about an hour to build one from scratch. So, that's the 4 motors, everything, putting firmwares on, everything. It's an hour. Okay.
Yeah.
But it can only be done like that because on this, there's the motor bolts, there's 4 screws inside, 2 at the back here, and then 2 more that hold the whole thing together. As soon as you have in a frame where you've got like, all right, so I've got to put 4 motor screws in, and then I've got to put screws in to do the legs to make sure it sits right and everything. As soon as you do that, you've added time. You've got to get rid of all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It needs to clip and slide. If you want legs, if you want stuff, quick and easy, dirty build.
I knew a girl like that.
You've got to keep your designs as simple as you can for mass production. We've got, like I say, there's 1,100. There's probably been about 1,500 of these built in America now already. Yeah. They're building the last part of the 1,100 now. So yeah, but when you build on mass, it's like I'm building 50 at the minute in the office, but I know it's 50 hours if I've got all the bits in front of me, but it's spread out obviously over time as bits arrive, but it's about an hour to build a drone.
And that's exactly how it needs to be, especially for the military as well. And they're looking at attritable mass. They're the key words. So when you're looking at something like an X10 with all the peripherals, and if you can get the spare batteries, which they can't deliver right now, you're talking 30, 40 grand a pop. That's not attritable. And by the way, you can't field them in swarms. You can't do it. It's just not possible. But whereas what, Mark, and Mark, I've sent you a message, by the way. What you're doing there is absolutely brilliant. Now, if you could take that, again, make that NDAA compliant and have the right connections, then you've got game. And it's like over here, the one thing I learned was I was trying to do this as a Brit in America. And then I realized that the only way I could do this were partnerships where I've actually got like veteran disabled-owned people within the organization, and I buy into their companies, they buy into mine, and we do it that way. And that way the doors get opened. But, I've seen people throw tens of millions of dollars at military projects, not have the nous to do what Mark's been doing there. And obviously we were talking about this a long time ago with Ben. And then get that over here and start doing something meaningful. And again, you find it's typical US, they want to see a facility. They don't want to see 10, 15,000 square feet. They want to see a couple of 100,000 square foot. So again, we've had to start putting all of that in place to show Uncle Sam, we're capable of doing this. It costs a small fortune, but again, it can be done. And I think that you're going to start seeing some smaller companies just come out of nowhere and start slamming orders left, right, and center here. And it's the people who are not talking nonsense.
So here's the thing as well about this. We now have, and it's not in this version, but it'd be in the next revision. We're having the UK-made flight controller. No Chinese parts in this. The flight controller itself can use Betaflight or Arduino.
Does it use ECL85 valves?
Yep. We're not. Yeah, it's going to be valve powered, but it won't be a Chinese flight controller in this. From
and we can make it calm when they buy that. They can have a drone pilot's legal handbook as well, as you can see.
Yeah, I'm refreshing the page to try and get rid of that flipping advert.
Gary, I love
it. Won't go away. Everyone else, I keep refreshing it. It's not going away.
It's self-promotion 101 today.
I love
it. It is. It's terrible.
That's how a drone needs to be. It needs to be that basic like that if you want to build them en masse.
Well, yeah, but you say that basic, but it isn't. That's the thing. I know. It's
well, the frame.
You can see there's lots of parts. No, it's not all that basic. It's one of those old ones that bolts together. Oh, it's got bolts in the corner. So
no, sorry.
So I thought hello 2010 when I saw this. I think it's not too dissimilar to stuff I've got behind me here.
You have injection molding the frames and everything now instead of using them because they don't have to be durable, do they? They don't have to last.
No.
Crash and just injection mold them, one shape, one form, and then everything clips in. There's a lot of system engineering that could be applied to this task to make these things so much cheaper to build, so much faster to build, and so much more available.
So what's interesting is, as I was saying earlier, as soon as you've got more bolts, it's more time. The main ones you want to worry about are the ones for the motor because you can't really change that. You're stuck with them, right? But the rest of them, if you can get rid of them because you're just adding time to your build. If you're going to build something that's going to go out and do that specific job, and that your crane does, you don't want the rest of it. You
only need 2 bolts for a motor, by the way. You don't need 4.
Yeah. You could lose one, and losing one, you would say,
especially when it's going one way.
Yeah. You could probably, you know what I mean. If you go with 3, now you'd say losing one screw doesn't matter, one bolt doesn't matter. It does. It's time you gain. One added up over 1,000 drones. That adds time up like you wouldn't believe. That you could build an extra drone in or 2. It doesn't sound a lot, but it makes that difference. And when it comes to mass production, if you've got it all there in front of you, it's so easy just to go through them, so quick.
And if you're designing your own flight controller, it can just clip in instead of bolt in.
Yeah, exactly, Bruce. You can make the flight controller clip in, bolt in. You don't want to be soldering anything at all to your flight controller. It should be literally clip it in, clip the ESC to it. Just ESC cable done, gone. You know what I mean? There should be none of this. You don't want a Chinese flight controller. We got all the leads coming off it. You got to solder everything up. Stuff that in here. There's a custom PCB for everything on it. There is nothing loose in here. There's no little wires going to other components. None of that rubbish. This is a mass-produced PCB in here, and it's all done just down the road from me.
But you've got
Johnny's asking how.
Haven't you? Sorry, just quickly, Gary. You just got to get the balance right, haven't you? Between making sure that you can manufacture something, very quick, very efficient, that is safe, versus making sure that it's safe to operate
and you've got redundancy built into the platform itself in order to be able to be certain that it will be able to conduct its flights in the way that it should do, right? Yeah. So it's always that balance between the two. You want low cost, quick output in terms of manufacture, but you've got to make sure that it does what it says on the tin.
So yeah, the difference is this is for commercial work. So this is done by a product designer. So Ben comes from a product design and drone background, so right. This is properly done. But when we're talking about the Ukraine stuff, what you really care about, and it's the important stuff, is you want it out there flying quickly. This has got 4 bolts in each thing, just to be clear. Do you know what I mean? When I'm talking about making them
but that's one to go in front of an audience, isn't it? That's a different kettle of ball games altogether.
What Ukraine offers in terms of a test bed are hours and hours of flights.
Oh,
right?
yes.
As well as challenges around counter drone equipment and encryption and all the rest of it. Right? So it offers you a real test bed in probably one of the harshest environments your drone's ever going to be used in. And if you're successful there, it's going to be successful pretty much anywhere.
Built to fly in British weather.
Even in Scotland.
Even in Scotland. Well, it's not British weather, is it? Anyway, moving on.
Scottish weather. That's right. I will put it in Scotland or Wales to fly as well as here. Let's put it like that.
Right. Yeah, but
when you go to a Scotsman and say, I live in Northern Britain, see what happens.
Yeah, see what happens there. Yeah, exactly. And are you brave enough to go to Wales as well? I mean, the weather's one thing, but again, I've been to pubs in Wales. Somebody asked how much do yours cost, Mark?
So it depends how many you're buying. Let's be, if you're going to be blunt about it, it's how many you're buying. If you're buying 50, then it's about £1,100. I don't know what the dollar is. The Americans sell it for, because that's down to what the American
£20 each
partner retails them at, and he helps you as well sort out your permissions.
I'm sure he helps you. Yeah, I'm sure he does.
That's without the Drone Pilot's legal handbook. That costs, by the way. That's without.
Does it include the tariffs?
Gotta love this.
But
with sales call list, you should be charging.
It's a gift that keeps on giving. Sorry, Gary. I just couldn't help myself.
You do get a year of the Skybrush license included. So the drone swarm software, you get the licenses to fly 50 drones. If you buy 50, if you buy 100, you get
but then
a year.
What's the minimum size you buy for a light show? With 50, do it?
You can do a light show with 20. You can do something nice with 20. But typically we think, everyone thinks that you've got to have 500 in the air. But if you've got 500 drones, you're talking such a lot of money that it has to be from investors, because very few people can afford to do it. But actually, 50 drones, 100 drones, 100 drone show in the UK is about 25k for the show. So that's typical pricing is about 25k. You'll find. Yeah, so you go and find this on. Don't take my. Go and look on the websites. Go. So the thing is, right, if you want to know how much drone shows cost, there are other. I will point you to other drone show flight operators in the UK who say this kind of pricing. We don't, you know what I mean? We only look at what has been charged in the industry: 25k a night, 10.5 grand, depending what you're doing. Weddings at 7,500, for example, for 50 drones, maybe. Your return on investment from a drone shows, once you've got your permissions, we've got everything in place, you can make a good return on drone shows, but it is also a fickle industry. It's still people getting used to the idea of drone shows. You've got to put your note time 30 days in advance. The operations manual is very daunting for a lot of people, although we do help. We also offer 3 days training.
I don't suppose you're. You are. Oh, here we go. He is offering training. I thought you were going to offer a manual for the. Yeah, here we go. Buy it here.
Key issue with drone light shows, I think, is weather, because you've got to forecast and plan with a customer 30 days, 60, 90 days in advance, and trying to get the right day with the right weather in the UK is not an easy task.
So does your legal handbook cover all this, Richard?
Sorry, what was that?
Does your legal handbook cover all this, or is this an addendum?
Absolutely covers everything.
The next version will definitely have it.
Yeah. Just so this is a common question we get asked. So wind tolerances, we know that this can fly in 50-mile-an-hour winds, for example. We took it out in storms. So stormy day, just one drone, we took it out and we thought, let's see if it can fly in these conditions. So we put it up and it could make an 8 meter a second into a headwind of 50 miles an hour. So it can still do its flight speed for inside a show. So that was great news for us. And it didn't destroy the battery flight time. It took it.
Didn't really?
We were fine. So we say, we've got a reasonable wind setting limit in the manual of about 25, 26 miles per hour. We know it can handle more than that. If you've got 50 in the air, you do know that it can take it.
Yeah.
Which is great. And it's also waterproof. This thing, if it starts to rain and you're doing a show, take the rain. We say you got a choice. If it's heavy rain and it's heavy persistent that's come and hit you, get them down. However, if it's slight drizzle or starts to mizzle, it's designed to take that weather. It's built to fly in the UK in all weather. And if you have to, and they're all laid out and a storm comes and you've got to wait for the weather just to get out of the way, just switch them all off remotely. They all switch off remotely. So you just leave them out on the pads, just tell them to turn themselves off. They sit there and wait. When you're ready, turn them back on and they all come back to life. Give it about 10 minutes.
How long? 10 minutes. Is that how long it takes for them to switch back on and get their fixes and get the show ready again?
So they have to go through their you have to go through all their checks. So like any aircraft that boots up, it starts going through its checks. But it could be 10, 15 minutes and it'll be ready to go.
Okay.
And that's 50 of them doing it, by the way, not one or 50, 100 doing it. They're all doing it.
Oh God, gotta laugh. Oh. Yeah, no, Mark, there's definitely a conversation we've got to have offline. But
here's the offline bit. We've also, I shouldn't say this, but we worked out how to do AI tracking on someone's face. So the old get rid of the light, and you could do something else.
You definitely want to consult with me on that from a legal perspective.
And I believe that's on about page 94 of exactly.
Is that the IP section? Yeah. Is that the IP section, Richard, that I need to be reading?
No, not that one. That's data protection.
Yeah, sorry. Just out of curiosity, if you were to remove the light underneath, what is the actual usable payload on that?
Payload.
You don't want to see
this Semtex or C4.
You don't want to see this.
Well done, Bruce.
Other version.
Yeah. Okay. No,
you can get 2 51mm mortar rounds attached to it, I would imagine.
Oh no!
No. Yeah,
no! Here we go. That's reminded me. I was going to say, there goes the monetization and all that, but that's not worth it anyway. But whoever bought the copies, thank you very much. That was more than a year's worth of YouTube money, because it was more. So whoever it was, thank you very much. I couldn't work it out from your username. And then that buy me a coffee people said, well, we need to make sure you're real. Where exactly are your links? And I couldn't remember where I put it. So it took me ages to find where it was. And I found it in the end. But anyway, one of you viewers did that. Thank you very much. If you can find it, well done.
If you could survive on coffee, you'd be a full-time YouTuber right now.
Just living the dream. Living the dream, mate. Living the dream. It's I had to say that. I forgot to say that. Okay, that's a light dynamics in. Right. We've gone well over. Not too far over the hour. What else is there in the world before we give the Ian hour over to the Ian hour? Any more? And nobody's seen anything exciting. Still seeing lots of people touting their 3D printed stuff, and I've been intrigued that Richard mentioned 3D printing. I'm still not a fan and convert of 3D drones.
So 3D printing, me and a guy called John, who I don't see anymore because he's a uni professor and he's gone away now. He did a printed drone and we were flying it back in 2011. Showing me a 3D printed drone is not new.
Oh no, lots of people think it is. Lots of people think it's cutting edge and bang on, and here we are.
11.
Yeah, no, there's seen some noise. There was that X noise. I'm trying to think what other things have annoyed me on LinkedIn. Do come and find me on LinkedIn and see who I'm arguing with.
Everyone.
Everyone, yeah. It is a madness. Right, if we've come to it, is it Racing Jones and Twitch says Peter. Oh, hello, Peter. How are you? Oh, and hopefully you're going to the party on Thursday night, Peter. I think no, it's not Peter. Can't remember who's going there. Anyway, dear viewer, are we done? Are we really done? Going once?
Right. You probably
there we are.
Anyway,
yeah, here we go. You didn't jump in. Go on then. Right, let me sit back.
No, just a quick one because I'm not going to get too much.
I've got something to do while I'm waiting. Yeah,
because it will tempt fate. But I've actually had a bit of a 180 on a Gatwick freedom of information. So I now know about a certain selection of documents. So with luck, it may be in a few months' time, we might actually start getting some genuine answers rather than continual pushback. So fingers crossed, although we have been at this point before where it's sort of like people were doing the right thing and then it's all gone pear-shaped to the last minute.
Well, all I'll ask of you, because we haven't spoken about this, are those documents on a system that they're going to allow you to have access to, or are they going to deny that the system even exists for security reasons?
Well, for this particular one, I questioned it without mentioning any system, so no one would get upset. But yes, that one has actually gone to the ICO. So that was the Home Office saying that it would be a breach of national security to admit they use SharePoint, despite the fact on LinkedIn, their developers say, I'm a SharePoint expert. And then they have job adverts on their website saying, we are employing SharePoint developers. So it just makes an entire mockery and just shows it's just an abuse of the freedom of information process again. But with that one, I thought, well, it's going to be amusing because I've given the ICO, the job adverts, the LinkedIn things, screenshots of it all, and said, there, just go and decide for yourself if they're being straight with me or messing me about. And I don't think that's going to be a hard decision.
The thing is, it's like left hand and right hand don't know what they're doing, do they? So, there's people there that'll say, we can't tell anyone we're using this. But then someone else has gone, we need a developer over here. So we're going to do that, but and they haven't told the other hand. It's like, what's going on?
But I think, Mark, it's a difference in interpretation of the law when it comes to regulation, right? And what to provide. I mean, we've just a couple of weeks ago in Ian's case in the tribunal, we've hit them quite hard for more information because they haven't provided us with everything that we've requested. And so not only have we asked the DFT for more, but we've also pressed the ICO as to what level of scrutiny they've applied with respect to the provision of information. So to the point on interpretation of what is commercial interest, what is exempt, for national security or whatever it's going to be, how are they actually assessing and testing that? And I think we're going to start seeing some more of that, aren't we, Ian?
Yes, more than likely. This DFT one's going to be interesting as well because they've got an external barrister and all this. I don't know how much money they are clocking up, but I think it's going to be a lot. And it's like, is this really good use of public funds when it's just... And the whole thing started because it was like, it'd be expensive to recover 4 emails we've accidentally deleted. And it's like, it is nowhere near as expensive as getting lawyers involved in that to try and justify the fact you've done it.
Yeah.
But how much of this is particularly in Gatwick, is it running down the clock because of the 6 years and information goes?
They've got to keep the information. It's in the public interest. So necessarily, if it's being requested, the retention rule should be suspended.
Yeah. So if I hadn't have requested it, then it would be a consent. It's subject to delete. So that's why I've specifically gone to the authorities that could be deleting stuff. and I've done them all with a request for.
But the snag is there could be other stuff we don't know about, and then we haven't requested that, and then that would go by the by, then wouldn't it? That would be gone on.
Yeah. To be honest, though, a lot of it's probably vanished already.
Well, that's the trouble, isn't it? We might find a reference to something in a year or two, and go, "Oh, we'd like that now, please." Oh, very sorry. Sure, and so surely that's the benefit of running down the clock, or am I being too cynical about that? Would they never do that? They'd never run down the clock.
They definitely have for the entire time, because something that went on 6 years ago still shouldn't be having freedom of information queried to this day. It should have been some, but then again, the part of that was I didn't know as well then, obviously, how to use the freedom of information. And that's why.
Yeah, well, you do. The trouble for them is you kind of do now with Richard's help, and as other things are coming out, you're a bit more expert in gathering that data.
That's the difference between Lake and Heath, and that was funny because someone had messaged me from the UAP community this week, and they said, "Bloody hell, you're getting more information out," because there's a lot of these like UAP guys. They've got huge follower bases, and they make out that the full expert.
I think we won't have this DEI new word for UFOs. I think we'll call them UFOs still.
Okay.
Well, there's this IOP thing. Won't have that. Yeah.
So there's like these big UFO influencers, and they're saying, "Oh, it's quite impressive that you're getting stuff out faster than they are." But I was like, well, I've had the experience at Gatwick, so I know exactly where I went wrong then, and I know what questions to ask, who to ask, and what to do if I'm not getting the answers. So, yes, it's a bit bizarre, because really all I wanted to ever do was just get the Gatwick stuff, and I've done. But because it's dragged out, it's then seeing other stuff and thinking, well, while I'm here, I might as well be asking about that. But it'd just be nice if we'd have the transparency, and none of it was necessary. Yeah. And hopefully one day we'll get there. Who knows?
Trump will get to the bottom of it. He'll show that aliens killed JFK.
Yeah. Or Allens. Aliens or Allens. It'll be one or the other. Yeah, one or the other. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I can't believe that he said, "Oh no, they were all official drones." And anyway, that's another story. That's another story for another time. So I think, are we done then, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah. I'll let you work out who the lady is. Going once, going twice. Dear viewer, wherever you are in the world, look after yourselves. Be careful out there. It's a crazy, mad world. Summer coming in the northern hemisphere. Winter coming here. Look, I've got the woolies on. Bruce has got the warm weather now for here. It's about 20 today, so it's back into these. And we'll see you again, 2100 Gin and Tonic next week. Look after yourselves wherever you are. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the coffee. Cheers. And that's